Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Frankly Speaking with Vibhuti Jha. What a week we have been having. And, it is truly remarkable that in Israel, in that region, a battle that had not happened, a war that had not happened for last 4 years, just became inflamed. And the situation is pretty serious because Israel is taking the whole matter very seriously. Those of you who have followed Prime Minister Netanyahu's statements would know how strong he has been telling the world not to criticize Israel for taking the defensive measures to protect its own citizens. Now, this is a very tragic, burning hot place for a very, very long time. Many accords have been taken place from Oslo Accord to Camp David, any number of them, but two of them stand out for me. So many accords that have been tried to be brought about peace. It hasn't happened. The reason is very simple. Somebody is not serious about peace, so it would seem. Whether you support Israel's struggle, whether you are sympathetic towards Palestinian cause, I don't care. I care because there are a lot of unnecessary lives are being lost. 1917 in Balfour Agreement, the British decided that the Jews will have their homeland in Palestine. Why did the British decide that? Because of the holy place Jerusalem, right? Al-Aqsa Mosque. All the three Abrahamic faiths have their presence in that region. So they put another entity there. Palestinians were evicted and Jews were given a place. It has been a territorial battle, military battle, land battle, ownership battle of all kinds. The situation is very tense because this time the firing by Hamas has been incessant. Even the dome, which is supposed to protect Israel from missile attacks, has not been able to withhold in entire success. There are missiles which have fallen in the civilian areas in Israel. What is problematic is that how the world is looking at the scenario. I want people to think about it from a perspective that this is a very flashpoint area. Anything can inflame in a matter of time. United States under Biden administration released funding to Palestine Liberation Army Authority, PLA. Now the result is the moment they got the money, the attacks started in the name of Al-Aqsa Mosque's problem. And there is a provocation. You can believe in whichever side, but what is happening is that Hamas is firing missiles on civilian locations in Israel. But if Israel hits back at Hamas terrorists, then it is termed as attack on the civilians because the terrorists or those people hide between their families and civilian people. There are many issues hot and very carefully to be attended to in this regard. Otherwise, we can see a conflagration that the world will find difficult to deal with. However, what is important is that Biden administration has told Mr. Netanyahu that United States stands behind Israel and Israel has all rights to protect its citizens. I'm not going to talk about it more, but I hope and pray that peace returns. But there is one point which I wanted all of us to think about it. Because in India also, there is a massive support for Israel. And the reason is very simple, because the clash is between the Jews and the people who are Islamic. And India is also suffering from Islamic terrorism for a very long time. So there is a sympathetic factor, but there is a pro-Israel, pro-Palestinian groups in both sides. And I would urge everybody to just agree on one point. And that point is, can we agree and come to a conclusion that no civilian life must be lost in the conflict that are being fought? If one is hiding behind the facade of civilian life, then the other person doesn't have a right to attack civilians in another country. Both ought to be condemned. And let's have a beginning of one important point, that we will not have war. We will not drop missiles. If we can have an agreement on that element to begin with, then we can revisit why have so many agreements failed. One of the telling ones is the Clinton's effort to bring about rapprochement. It failed. Clinton was almost hopeful that this deal was going to happen. Arafat, who was leading the Palestinians, almost got 90% of what he wanted. 10% he turned back. Two very critical statements for us all to understand. Those who were present in the meeting, they wrote the book, and it is said that Arafat told Clinton, "You are a great man." Clinton's reply was, "No, I'm not great. I'm a failed man, and you are responsible for making me a failed man." That is an important thing for people to remember. And even for that agreement, King of Jordan made a mention that Arafat is not missing an opportunity, he's committing a crime by not agreeing to that deal. So we cannot go back into the history, but using modern technology of GPS, when we enter the destination in the GPS, it tells us exactly how much time it will take, what are the slowdown areas, suggests alternate ways. In this particular Arab-Israel conflict, in the Middle East conflict there, so many agreements have been entered into and then nothing happened. Let's revisit. It's very simple. You can't be having a conversation on the same point again and again, expecting a different result. As somebody said, doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different outcome is the definition of stupidity. So go back, apply the GPS standards, see why those agreements didn't happen, and focus on the points that was not agreed upon and what was the problem with that. With that word, I would hope for peace and calm in that area. So I welcome my guest today, Mr. Mukesh Modi. He's a friend, a fellow Long Islander, very active community worker, very successful businessman, and I also know that he's a filmmaker. Mukesh and I, we are going to focus our conversation on things happening in India and something he is very excited to share with all of us is about his movie project. So we will talk about it all. So Mukesh ji, tell me one thing very clearly. There is a statistics about the data about the COVID deaths and COVID cases. Even after the increase in COVID cases in India in the second wave, India death is almost 300,000 less than what we in America have seen. India's cases are about 10 or 12 million less than cases in America. What has happened in India? But one thing is, in fact, is very clear that in India, the states that are classically responsible for this entire spread is Maharashtra, which is in the control of Uddhav Thackeray, Sharad Pawar, and Sonia Gandhi, which is the opposition. Delhi, which is Aam Aadmi Party, right? You have it in Rajasthan, which is again Congress-run party. Chhattisgarh, which is a Congress-run party. UP, it has been contained very well. The problem is, why is it suddenly the second wave so serious in India? Your thoughts on it?
Okay. First of all, Vibhuti, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for your channel uh, to doing such a beautiful programs and beautiful event and interviews for everyone.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for that. And yes, you are 100% right. And I would tell you the data which you mentioned about between America and India. Let's talk about between America and India. The Indian population is 4.25%, 4.25 times more
Right.
than American population. That's number one.
No.
Number two, if you see the cases in United States of the population is a 9.87%, where in India is only only 1.98%. So you see the percentage is very, very low. The mortality rate around the world is 1.9%, where
Right.
India is only mortality rate is only 1%.
Right.
And the total cases, which I mentioned to you, is only 1 point, which is still lower, which is lower than the American cases,
Right.
whatever we have here. So the what's why this is so hyped up? What's going on? I would just give you my opinion and what my observations are, as you mentioned already about that, which is non-BJP government states. Uh, there are many cases. They talk about it now. They are trying to defame BJP government. They are trying, like I would say, the overseas or different countries. They want to defame India. It is always their target to defame India. That's what they do. So that's why it's so hyped up. And they talk about it that okay, there was a Kumbh Mela. Uh, there was why they had to Kumbh Mela, why they had the rally of the BJP rally in West Bengal, and because of that the COVID happened. So let's say which is the highest cases in India right now is in Maharashtra, and then the second is Delhi. There was no election in Maharashtra. There was no election in Delhi. There was no any political rally. There was no Kumbh Mela in Maharashtra. There was no Kumbh Mela in Delhi. So why the cases are there more than anywhere else? Even on the first cases, those are the two state as the more cases. We hear about it. We hear about the stories and whatever the people talk about it. The Maharashtra government, I was born and raised in Mumbai. So I know how the Maharashtra government works with, even though whoever it is, it's a fully corrupted state, I would say that, as per my opinion. We have cases where they took the money, they took the bribe, and let the COVID patients go in the people, even though they were positive. They took the bribe and they let them go. They did not quarantine them. There's not a one case, there are many cases like that. In the hospital, they gave not the proper injection to the people. Right now there's a lot of things is happening, and I would say that there's no humanity right now. When you talk about Israel and Palestine, right now what had happened in even in at the time of election in US, the political people, I don't want to blame anybody, but these people, they play with our lives. They play with our lives because they just want to be in the power. They want to take anybody out, and they are playing with your and my family. This is not happening. They should not. The people have to understand that God has given you the brain. Kindly use it. Do not just trust the people. Use the common sense. Why this is happening? Why suddenly the cases happen? I tell you right now, you take the Prime Minister Modi ji out from that, the next day there won't be any cases. Everything, all the pandemic will be over. This is my opinion. And that's what's happening. They want to just get the Modi ji out. That's their target. Now the whole world is asking to let Modi ji resign it. So this is the political game, I would say. That this is my, and this is nothing. We don't need to worry about it. As I mentioned, the mortality rate is less, the cases are less, but the media is hyped up. That's about it. And the cases are going down. This, I have seen the BJP government is working so hard. I just got a one history yesterday that at 5 in the morning he got a call and he worked on it and he sent the medicine right away. He's working, the all PMO office is working 24/7. If you see the Modi ji history, uh, he has never taken any off in last 7 years. Nothing. He didn't do anything. He's working 24/7. And then what? There's no corruption charges of his on his in his political career life. Compare any other politician. Compare his family with any other politician's family. Why? What you guys are thinking? Do you think you can get any leader like that in your history? Like we got freedom in 1947. This is the only person who is a more uh, pure patriotic person in our country right now, and we are lucky to have him as a prime minister.
I totally agree with you because important part is that this is the first ever time one can proudly say that nobody can launch and prove a corruption case on Modi or his family. He has not benefited anywhere, personally or otherwise. But you carry the same last name as him, right? So the important part here is, how are people responding, those who don't know you? Are you
No,
related to Modi? But before I come to the humor part of it, it is important to know, you referred to the fact that the entire world is looking to remove him. And if you remember, on several TV programs, including Jaipur Dialogues, I have said that once the 2020 election in US was over, the leftist bandwagon will arrive in India for 2024. There is a reason for that. You see, world's three prominent democracies, India, US till 2020, and Prime Minister Modi in India. UK. UK, Boris Johnson became Prime Minister. He's a conservative, right of center. Trump was the president here who was clearly right of center. And Modi had won the second election in 2019, and he is also right of center, pro business, pro growth. All were very karma yogi kind of people. The left liberal agenda was going to be forgotten for a while if Trump had come back to power. And to remove Trump in 2020 was the ultimate goal of the left agenda, and they succeeded. Now their style worked. You said very correctly that you remove Modi from there and everything will be fine, right? That's exactly happened in the US. When Trump was here, he created Operation Warp Speed. Nobody gives him credit for the vaccines arriving. And he had said that by April end, things will be fine. Once I'm gone, everything will be over. But just like in India, Delhi and Mumbai created the maximum problem in the second swing, New York and California created trouble for Trump. You see the pattern. So you are totally right, and I have said so many times that BJP, Hindus, and India must defeat any foreign attempt to dislodge Modi from power in 2024. And therefore, people of India and his supporters have to hold steadfast. What do you say?
100% I agree with you. Uh, and if you notice, like last 7 years, he has not done anything wrong to the people. If he wanted, there was a Shaheen Bagh happened. There was a farmer protest were there. He did not took any major action. But if you compare previously, all the government before, they had always taken the action, and they eliminate all the agenda what the opposition party or anybody had it. I believe the BJP has to take some kind of action because the people are losing hopes. And the people, just an example, anybody who's a supporter of BJP and anybody supporter of that, they want maybe Indian, I would say that they are, they don't know, they are confused right now, that they are saying why BJP government is not taking any action when they know the truth, when they have the proof that the people, who's the people behind it. We know the where the funding is coming from. They know who is sending the money. Why not taking any action? Means that's what I don't know. This is confusing. And that's, even though the BJP people, the supporters, they hold and they try to help whatever they can, but they can't do it because the money power they have, the media power, the opposition party, and the other people who wants to take the India down, they are more powerful at this moment, and it's working. If you see it, it worked in US, and it is working right now. They lost Bengal, where they had the West Bengal, when they had a more chance to win, but they lost it. Even though it was a good thing that from 3 to 72 is much higher, but still, that's their, and they're getting successful. The whole media, the people who used to love internationally Modi, now they are talking, no, this government is not doing a good job.
Now, listen, here is a very important. You brought in West Bengal, and I was going to talk about it myself because one of the things that has happened is that West Bengal, you rightly said, that the seat numbers went up from 3 to 72 or 77, as the case may be.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
That's a massive increase.
100%.
Right? It's a massive increase. But, there were many polling people, experts were predicting Modi win. Now, there is a very interesting thing. You don't play to lose. If Modi had announced or BJP had announced that we will win, we are aiming for 70 seats, They may have got only 20 perhaps. You have to aim big. That's the name of the political gameplay.
Anywhere.
What happened in West Bengal was not a bad thing. I had said it in the program that I'm not expecting BJP to win in West Bengal because West Bengal's history is rather murky. The entire election of that belt of West Bengal, Assam, Puducherry, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala, these are all the states where there were, other than Assam, all non-BJP government. So did BJP lose Assam? No, they did not. West Bengal, they did not lose West Bengal because they never had it. So that is the language play that the pollsters had declared him to be winning. And I was watching most of the polling people were doing from on the ground with the enthusiasm. So Modi lost the battle of expectation in West Bengal. In Kerala, they made inroads. In Tamil Nadu, Kamala Hassan lost to BJP candidate. So there was a very interesting improvement of the thing. But what was worrisome is the way the violence happened in West Bengal, killing BJP karyakartas mercilessly, and the videos are very pathetic. And they were doing the rounds, and that angered the people. Why isn't Prime Minister saying anything? That has been one single blot, which everybody is finding it difficult to understand that why Modi ji has not said a word about it. I gave an explanation today to somebody. I said, knowing him with his way he is, he must be hurting very badly for the murder of the karyakartas, BJP karyakartas in West Bengal. But what he is thinking about probably is what actions he can take. Merely coming out of the media and saying that I condemn the violence doesn't solve the problem. You know, Rajnath Singh is famous for his Kadi Ninda. Remember that? He used to only issue statements, मैं इसकी कड़ी निंदा करता हूँ. I think Modi is waiting to take some action, just as he did in Kashmir. And the supporters of BJP and Modi, I want to appeal only one thing, that don't forget CAA, abrogation of 370, fight against corruption, and the hundreds of things that he has done because he did not say something about the killing of Karyakartas. I know he must be hurting. And I'm not saying this as a Modi bhakt, I'm saying as a Modi supporter. I'm looking at the personality and the psychology of the person. You remember, we all remember how Abdullahs and Owaisis had threatened that 100 साल में ये 370 नहीं हटा सकते हैं. क्या किया मोदी जी ने? हटाया. Did he talk anything about it? He let Amit Shah do the talking. He did it. He's a doer. So have faith. There will be action against those people who have done it. But as you and I both know, we all know, criminal intent is very difficult to prove in the absence of evidence. That is why a lot of criminals get away with taking advantage of the democratic laws. Enough of that subject matter. I wanted to come to you another subject that we together talked about, fought about it, and one was the declaration of enacting a legislation in New York declaring swastik as a hate symbol. But I notice series of systematic attack on things India and Hindus in America. Caste is one. You have Professor Trushke openly giving, to use the Hindi word, galis to Hindus in no uncertain terms, right? And then you see farmers' agitation. There is so much of opposition to things Hindu when we are the most peace-loving community in the country? Why is this happening? And I believe, I'll preface it by saying, is our success a cause of jealousy? Or there is a systematic attack to make us look inferior or bad?
I believe it's a systematic attack. They're doing it, and they can't believe that from last so many years, I would say thousands of years, there's been attack on Sanatan Dharma, there's been attack on India, and they are still not successful. They can't buy that, and they keep trying it. As you mentioned just now about swastika, and
Mm.
there was an issue in Rutgers University about
Right.
it. Now the new thing has just come up in New Jersey. They are just trying to make some kind of, there's a law going on, there's some kind of act, they took some kind of criminal act or something with the, they're saying they hired an employee from India, they did not pay, they
Yes,
forced.
the temple, Swami Narayan temple thing.
Yes,
Yes,
I believe means they just want to find something to start doing and blaming, because this is one of the beautiful and the largest temple in the world. Yeah, I've been to that temple. It's so
yes.
beautifully done. And they are saying, okay, maybe as far as I know, they have imported everything from India to US. They imported. So if they paid in India in Indian rupees or as per the Indian rate, why there should be any problem? Why there should be any problem is, I don't know what they're trying to find, what they're trying to do, we have no idea. But as you that's what they're trying means. I think they are just playing with our patience, and that, I don't know what the result will be, but they're trying. That's what they're trying.
No, this actually is a very important case in point. The United States, you can't be in violation of US laws. I
Yes.
recall, I saw the documentary on Netflix that how Rajneesh was hounded out by legal process in
Yes.
which he was accused of misusing tax laws, misusing land laws in Oregon to build his ashram. He was not caught for committing a crime, but violating the laws. And he had to leave. Everything he had to give up because they trap you into the law. So I definitely believe that BAPS is a very spiritual organization. And, even if, let's say I'm not commenting on the matter of justice, but what intrigued me is how the press report, New York Times reporters, look up their names. They're sitting in Delhi and writing a report. Think about it. The point which I'm trying to say is there is a gameplay going on. You
100%.
know about how they are removing the merit thing in America. And this is bothersome to me because some years ago, a senator had told me that we love you Indians as immigrants to this country. You are professionals, you are hardworking, you have family values, you take care of your children, you are least problem from law and order perspective, other than occasional blue white collar crime. You are in the highest median income. You are peaceful guys, and you don't ask for anything.
Don't demand anything.
And this is what I'm seeing, that somewhere along the line, that we are a successful community has caught the attention of many groups of people who are inimical to us. And we have to unite again to fight this. I want to tell every single Indian, every single Hindu watching this show today, share the word. Unity is not a product shelf lying in the shelf that you buy to use. Unity comes for a unity of purpose. We must resist this kind of a targeted attack that Hindus are experiencing. I'm feeling it. I never thought this is not the America I came to. I just completed 30 years in this country. And I'm feeling uncomfortable because now my freedom of speech is gone. Think about it. It is in this country. Who would have ever thought that a former president who just lost the election will be barred by big tech companies from social media of Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube can censor your video production? Freedom of speech is gone in this country. If you forget about the woke or Black Lives Matter or anything, even if you have a difference of opinion, you are immediately branded as black hater, or anything kind of a phobia is put into. You are not even allowed to ask a question. What do you think about that, Mukesh?
Okay. I would tell you very important. Like I'm going to make. I want to with your channel. I want to send two messages to the people. The number one is, first of all, you have to know. Please understand that I'm not saying to take, be a supporter of BJP, be supporter of Congress, be supporter of Democratic Party or
Yeah,
Trump.
we are discussing issues. Yes. Yeah.
So what I'm trying to tell here that please understand every party's policies. Do you agree on those policy? Will those policies going to harm you or not? Will this policy is good for the country or not? I would tell you, like, your life and my life will end sooner, whether Trump comes, whether, I mean to say, whether Republican comes or Democratic comes, we will be fine. We will not have any issue. But what kind of country, what kind of nation we are going to give it to our future generation, whether it's India or USA? Just an example, the policy which is, I think, is a Democratic policy to defunding the police. Defunding the police, open the borders for everyone. Why for everyone? Why for terrorists? Why? Another thing is, you want to give the funding to the people who give birth to the terrorists. Do you want to fund them? Now, what is going to happen? They're going to come back to you, or they're going to create a hawks around the world, as you just mentioned about the Palestinian. The funding went there, and the attack started. Why you are sending the fund there? When the Trump government was there, they had stopped all the funding to the terrorist countries. They have to scan anybody who's coming from the country which is a threat to the world. Why not do that? One thing is, if I always say that, will you allow any stranger to come to your house? If you're not allowing any stranger to your house, why are you allowing in your country? Scan them, welcome them. Definitely we need to welcome everyone, but scan them. Just don't open blindly, because they will be your voting power in the future. Defunding the police, I had a bad experience myself.
Hmm.
I went to an accident in Pennsylvania. For 3 hours there was no cop. The cop did not even come. We had to leave without the cop.
3 hours?
three
And you
hours
left without the cops?
without the cops. We
Oh
and
my
I was
God.
I was in a major accident which happened 2 months before. And I could have died, like that kind of, like, all the air balloon came up. I was with my salesperson. That's number one. Number two, my editor, who's in Los Angeles right now, 3 weeks back, he fell into an accident. For hour and a half, there's no cops came, and they had to leave also without cop. So
Oh,
this is the defunding. That's what you want. Now, what's going to happen if somebody's going to come and shoot you or mug you or rob you in your house? The police is not going to come. So that's what you want. So you have to decide yourself what kind of government, what kind of policy you want to support. Support anyone you want, but see the policies. What kind of nation you're going to give it to the future generation? Exactly the same thing in India. What do you want to do? Use. And then another thing which I want to tell all BJP supporters: please go and vote. If you don't vote, and then you think the BJP has to come into the power and support and to build our country, then you have to go and vote. The problem with Hinduism, the Hindu, they don't vote. Okay, so if you don't vote, you're not going to win. So you have to go and vote. This is the two things I wanted to give from your message to the people.
yeah. I mean, what you are conveying to people is very appropriate. An appropriate thing is to get engaged. What you are saying is get engaged in the process that happens. You have no idea. We are not involved at the school level of activities, but do we have any idea what they are teaching our children in the school? Today evening, yes, yesterday evening, not today evening, yesterday evening, I was told by a person, a real life example, that his daughter was asked by her friend, what is happening in your country? Why is Modi killing people? You know, and are you a Modi supporter? Things like that, as if it was an evil to support Modi.
See, this is
In the schools here, I believe
this is
I
the
have
reason.
the message with me in which they one newspaper reported that the Indian children and children in school in general are being asked to write an essay, how to defeat Modi in 2024. Friends, there is a serious attack going on. Whether you are a Congress supporter, whether you are any party supporter, you cannot allow this country, this school system, the various segments of the society attack India. Come on. We can't allow that to happen. We have to unite for that. Hey, Mukesh, this is a great conversation, a lot of issues to be talking about. There's one thing which also bothers me, and I keep saying The attack on India is very, very focused. I sometimes feel that our enemies are far more organized than we are. You see in movies, the general in the war movies, you will see the general has a big table on which he has his all the artillery and army and opponent's army and all. I feel that our opponents are battle ready. We are not. They
100%.
know exactly when to attack, where to attack, what to attack with. So
And
if
how
one
to attack.
ends, the other one starts.
They
So
have the whole toolkits with them. They have
yeah.
the all tools they have. They're utilizing all the tools. You
Mm.
name it, whether it's come to young generation to the older generation, they know how to what to do. And
Right.
they're very successful in that. And we have to understand that we have to only understand just by using common sense and using our brain that what's going on, and check it out, and just don't trust blindly to any media.
Really, I like people say that Hindus don't have unity. I say that unity, I said earlier also, unity is not a product, it's not a battery, it's not a computer that you buy off the shelf. Unity always comes with a purpose behind it. Just as we all united behind Swastik, we all united behind Truskay's attack, we have all united against the caste insinuation. That's the point which you are talking about. We have to take up a cause, each one, and get involved and build a coalition. And I say that cooperate, collaborate, and mobilize behind your issue. Even if there are 10 people, doesn't matter. But create a voice about something against something. You are a movie maker, you are a filmmaker. And as the saying goes, the filmmakers have many ways to look at things. So tell us something about, it's very nice. I mean, I know only one filmmaker in my life personally. That is Prakash Jha, my own namesake. I know him well. And he knows me too. So if you ask him if he knows Vibhuti Jha, yes, he will tell you that, yes, I know him.
Right,
Because
right.
many a times I know somebody, but he doesn't know me. So a lot of people say, I know Modi ji. Yes, I know. I also know him, but he doesn't know me.
That's true.
So, so I'm asking you, you are the second movie maker I know. So I'm very excited. And I want to know what you're doing in Los Angeles, because you said you are in LA and making a movie called Elevator. So, my dear friend, tell us more about it. And I'm proud, whether any of my viewers like it or not, but I'm very proud of you making the movie. So, tell us more about the movie, what it is about.
It's a family drama. I believe it's a PG rated or maybe G rated movie. Very nicely.
Oh, you completed it?
We completed the movie. We should be the right now. We are on a final stage. That's why I'm in Los Angeles to finish
Ah, okay.
to complete this movie. The last process. I believe it should be ready by next Wednesday. That's the target we have.
Ah,
We'll
okay.
complete, then we'll give the distribution. It's a family drama movie. See, why? If you ask me why I chose the film industry, of course, number one is my passion. It was my passion, and it's my passion. That's why I wanted to be. But other thing I learned with the movie, you can give message to the audience. So this movie, which I believe more than 60% will feel that this movie is about them. This is a
Oh,
based on,
really?
yes,
Okay.
this is the based on a true event. The message I want to give to the audience and to the people, that never keep anything pending. Love your family because you don't know what can happen tomorrow. So be ready, always be ready. Never keep anything pending. So that's kind of message I want to give. It's a very nicely done with the Oscar nominated actor Eric Roberts.
Ah,
Uh, he is my male lead actor. And another is Eugenia Kuzmina. She had worked, she was in a Bad Moms movie, which came, I think, believe in a few years back.
yeah.
And she's a very popular model also. And there's another guy, his main name is Matt Rife. So it's a nicely done 90 minutes movie. I think it's good.
Theatrical release, or you're doing it on
As you
mainstream?
know, the theatrical it'll be difficult for to
Yeah.
do it. Of course, would love to be theatrical, but as you know, the people are not watching. That they're not going to the theater. So we'll do maybe Netflix or Amazon, and
Got
we'll
it.
keep it,
Got it.
it'll be keep you posted.
Yeah,
Right
please
now
do.
we are on IMDb. If you Google Mukesh Modi movie The Elevator, we are on the first page on the
Oh,
Google.
okay. That's so nice. That's so nice. I always love the creative work we people end up doing, because that's where your passion is all about, that you are coming up with. And you conveyed a very powerful message that, take your family seriously and don't leave anything pending, so to say. But this was a very important lesson which I heard from. It is a very interesting coincidence that I'm reminded. You told me the movie story. This movie called In the Behind Enemy Lines. It is about an Air Force pilot
Okay.
who on his last sortie in Serbia, after the ethnic war that happened there. So U.S. enforced a ceasefire, and they were patrolling. U.S. Air Force was patrolling that there is no incident of war happening anywhere. So this was supposed to be the last sortie that the Air Force pilot was going to make. I'll cut the story short. It's a lovely movie. See it. It's based on true story, since you are doing a movie based on true story. And a very good actor too. So his plane is shot. He falls behind enemy lines. And then there is his rescue. The two statements came out very powerful. He said that once my aircraft was hit, I heard him live. Okay, he was in the same program talking about it. And he said that when my plane was hit, my only objective was to save the radio transmitter. Because once I'm fallen on the ground, the beep will tell them where am I. But I have to communicate with them to know that I'm alive or whatever. if if my army knows that I'm alive, I this is the faith the soldier has in the American army, that my army will do whatever it takes to rescue me. That's the meaning of being a soldier. That is one powerful lesson. The
Ye-
second one was equally important. He said, when my plane was hit, it is split second decision. I had to release the parachute and I'm in the air. The first person whose thought came to my mind, not my wife, not my child, but the girlfriend whom I didn't propose to in school.
All right.
And everybody started laughing. I mean, how can you remember the girlfriend in school who you did not propose to? He says, maybe I thought maybe if I had proposed to her, I would have got married to her. I would have lived in that village. I would have joined the Air Force. I won't be in this mess. So that's the important part of movie making. And movies make an impact. Hey, Moonraker was made when Elon Musk is taking the shuttle to moon right now.
Very
So,
true.
the movie, what do you call, Tom Cruise movie, The Minority Report, is based on a story written in 1953. And everything technology you see in James Bond movies becomes a reality after several years when it hits the marketplace.
Right. Right.
It's brilliant. So I'm a great fan of movies. I'm glad congratulations for completing the movie and coming with the release. So this is great. This is a happy news in otherwise so many unhappy events happening around us. So I wish you well on behalf of all the listeners and all the viewers. Wish you well for the movie project and a successful release on Netflix or wherever you choose eventually. So, so tell us more about it when we get back. We'll talk again.
Right.
But in the
Sure.
meanwhile, want to thank you again. Any last word on how we can bring about the Hindu unity to face the crisis that Indians are facing in this part of the world?
Uh, I would just say that, you know what, believe, first of all, believe over your own Sanatan Dharma. Believe yourself, even though if you believe, but the belief is not believing like believe, has to be like you have to have a faith on it. And
Conviction.
okay, that's very important because okay, you believe this, but the faith means understand that without, like they say, like it's a one finger and the five fingers together become a fist is more powerful. So you have to know that, as you mentioned before, I would say that example of swastika when it was happened, we were real, you could feel that unity
Right.
within us, and means we need that kind of unity. And understand, I would say only understand, don't fall into the trap, don't uh, believe anybody blindly, think what the truth and what is the fact behind it, before you make your judgment or before you make any decision. That's what I would say. You will know the truth, you will find the facts, and you will know what you want to do.
Thank you, Mukeshji, for being here. And my last word to everyone: get engaged in your local communities. Get engaged in your local communities. It starts from Parents Teachers Association in school. Learn what your children are being taught. I have said, I personally believe that if Indian children end up in schools here hating Hindus and things India, that ought to be a matter of concern. That ought to be a matter. What exactly are you being taught? You can't be taught things wrong. And if we know now that we know about Audrey Truschke of Rutgers University, we do not know how many more are there. How many Indian teachers are doing the day? I'll give you one example quickly. I know of a student in a particular wonderful school. His research work or a term paper on a particular subject, the Indian professor was trying to bully that person to fashion the report in a particular manner that he or she wanted. Because this guy was presenting a very independent, factual storyline. And the professor was troubling and also threatened him. Eventually, somehow he met me and he told me this. And I called up the professor and I asked, how dare you do that? The question is that we are not confronting people when something wrong happens. I took it upon that student, and that student is a dear friend of mine now. That's what I'm trying to say to you. Get engaged with your children, get engaged with their education, because their minds are being twisted right out there. You don't want your children to become Hindus in name only. I don't care whether they are atheists, worshiping this or that or whatever. I'm saying don't be against anything. All right. So, with these happy words, I would say have a great weekend, have a great week ahead, be well and be safe.